In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a very, very simple book, also with materials that you probably already have at home. So you're going to want to gather some paper. I just picked some printer paper. Any kind of paper that you have is fine. Some needles, whatever kind of needles you have. Embroidery needles would be better, but sewing needles, embroidery needles, bookmaking needles, whatever needles you have at home. And then I have some binder's thread. So this is for bookmaking, but whatever kind of thread you have, preferably some kind of embroidery thread. It's a little thicker, that's a little better, but you can try it with some sewing thread if that's all you got. Scissors, you want to grab some scissors, a box cutter, a pencil, binder clip or paper clip or bobby pin, and a ruler. So you can make your book as thick as you want it. You can have it have as many pages as you want. Obviously you can't do too many, but this little test that I made, it only has maybe like 5 pages, 4, 5, 6 pages. You can make one with a very small number of pages like this, or you can make one with 24 pages. It's up to you. So here I have 11 sheets of printer paper. And we're going to start by folding it in half. So all of those pages will double. So there's 11 sheets of paper. It's going to make it so I have 22 pages in this book. So we'll start by folding it in half. First, I grab my stack and I kind of just tap it on my table to make them all come together. Just fold it right in half. So you want to make one end meet the other. And I like to press down then on the end and kind of drag my hand out towards, this is called the spine of your book. Drag it out towards the spine. And voila, fold them all in half. It's not really the proper way to do it, but it's just an easy way to do it. This was kind of a lot of pieces of paper, so it might be better if we split the stack and then folded half of it and then folded another half, because the thicker your stack is, the harder it will be to fold it, but it's fine. I decided to get this art board to put under because I noticed you couldn't really see the white paper on the white table. Now we're going to measure it. So I'm just going to measure it this way, see how long it is. It's about 5.5 inches, and I want my book to be a square. So I'm going to turn it around and then measure this long way, measure up the spine, and I'm going to mark right at 5.5 inches. And then I'm going to flip it around and do it on the other side too. Mark it right at 5.5 inches. Then I'm going to take my ruler and rest it on each mark that I made. Line it up right so it touches both of those marks that you just drew. And I'm going to make a line along the ruler. Very lightly. I'm going to take my scissors. Alright, get a good grip on this before I start cutting, but then I'm going to just cut right alongside that line. Okay, so it's kind of tough to cut with scissors, so I'm going to use this box cutter that I have. Right, I use my ruler, I just put my ruler right on that line, and I really press down with the ruler. And then I just slide this box cutter along. Voila! Okay, so if you don't have a box cutter at home, you can just use your scissors, but what I would do is take about half of the pages out, like this, and I would cut along that line, and then I draw that same line again on the other stack of papers, and then cut that. I would just split up the paper so you're not cutting such a huge stack at one time. So a lot of the times people will use a piece of colored paper and have that be their cover page. I didn't have any colored paper, so what I'm going to do is take out that first page. So I'm going to take out one sheet, and I have some pens, so I'm just going to color my own. You don't have to do this. It's up to you. Just if you want to have a colorful page, you can use anything to color it. Crayons, markers, pencils, whatever you want. And I'm going to make stripes. So I got green and some yellows. I'm just going to go right along. Alright, now that I've decorated my front page, and you can decorate it however you want, I just decided to do some yellow, green, and blue stripes. And then we're ready to start poking some holes in the spine of our book. This is the spine. Okay, now we want to grab our binder clip. And this is just very helpful to keep all of these sheets together. So what you're going to do is open up your book, and you're going to just want to clip one edge. Keep this whole thing together while you're poking the holes. So here's what I would do. We're going to take our pencil, and we're going to make 3 dots on the inside of this spine. And these 3 dots are going to be where we're going to poke the holes through. I'll start with one. And I just put it right there, just kind of close to the top, but not that close. We want to leave some space between the very top. And then I'll do one maybe about right in the middle. And one more. Made 3 dots. One kind of close to the top, one kind of in the middle, one pretty close to the bottom. You would want to use something called an awl usually for this step, which is this tool that has a big needle on the end, and then the other end has this wooden side, and you use it to poke holes through the spine of your book. So if you can, I might try to order an awl so you can use that. It's going to be a lot easier to poke through. I do not have one, so we're just going to use the needle that we're going to use for stitching. So then you want to take your needle, and you want to lie this flat, and we're just going to poke through all those dots. Voila! It's kind of hard to get it through there, and that's because I grabbed a lot of paper for this because I wanted this to be a book that had more pages. But if this is your first time ever making a book, I might suggest doing less pages because it'll just be easier to poke through, and it might just be easier for the whole project to start, and then you can make another one. But it's up to you. I still got it through. But once you get it through, we're going to kind of wiggle it around. So I'm going to wiggle it just kind of like this. But you just don't want to poke yourself with this needle. So I've punched 3 holes. Now we're ready for our thread. Alright, so I just have some regular tan thread that I bought for making books, but you can use whatever thread you have. I would recommend embroidery thread if you have that. If you have no thread at all and you want to make a book, I would just look up some binder's thread, some bookbinding thread. The length of this spine, we want 3 times the length of that worth of thread. So this is 1 spine length worth of thread. So we're going to triple that. And then we'll do 1 more. Then you can give yourself a little extra. And then we'll trim it. For bookmaking, you really want your thread to be waxed. What I'm going to use today is a candle. So if you don't have a candle or anything that's waxy lying around to use, then it's okay. It doesn't have to be waxed, but It helps just not to rip your pages. But I don't have wax thread, so I'm going to wax it myself. So what I'm going to do is use my thumb and push the thread down into my candle. I have an unlit candle. And then I'm going to pull it through while my thumb is still pressing down. You can already feel it's getting kind of waxy. So I'm going to do that a few times. And this is a scented candle, so it kind of makes it smell good too. Alright, now we have our wax thread. We have our needle. And we're going to want to put that thread through that loop on the edge of the needle, the end of the needle. So that can be kind of tricky, so I just take my time. Sometimes I put the end in my mouth like that. And you get it through that loop. And then we're going to tie one knot. So I'm going to go down from the outside because I want my knot to be on the outside. Go ahead and pull it all the way through. Well, not all the way through. Leave maybe a few inches of thread on the outside here. Oop. So leave some thread out there. Alright, so now I pulled it all the way through except for a few inches that I left going out the end. The rest of the thread I've pulled through. And I'm going to go in on this top hole now. And I'm going to pull that until it's nice and tight. And I don't want to keep pulling because then it'll grab this and it'll just go all the way through. I want to leave this here. But if you want to tighten it, what you can do is kind of grab this thread and pull it like this. You want to pull it against this length. So you don't want to pull it like that because it could rip. So we just want to pull it like this. So now we have thread going right there. We have it coming out this top hole. We're going to want to skip the middle hole and go all the way to that far end. Pull it through there. And once again, you can kind of pull it like this, make sure it's nice and tight. So now the inside looks like this. And the outside looks like that. It's got thread going all the way across. So what you want to do now is go back to that middle hole and go through there, but be careful of the thread that's already in there because you don't want to pierce that. So kind of try to keep away from that. Pull that through. Now your inside looks like that, so you got thread going in all of those holes in there. You have it coming out in the same hole in the middle on the outside. I'll pull like this again, make sure it's tight. Make sure it's tight on the inside, make sure it's tight on the outside. Pull it. And then we can cut off our needle. Then we're going to want to tie it in a knot. But one thing is, so I'm going to go ahead and one of these threads coming out, I'm going to put it underneath this long thread that's going along the whole spine. Because when I tie this knot, I want it to catch this thread here. So it'll kind of anchor it down in the middle. And I'll double knot it, maybe triple knot it. And then you can tie a little bow if you want. Oh, that's kind of cute. I think I'll keep it with this little bow. So you can just take this and trim off that extra thread, but I kind of like it with that little bow, so. Voila! You have yourself a book. It's up to you if you want to make this, you can make it a journal, quarantine diaries. You can make it a sketchbook. You can make it whatever you want.